when he unveiled his vice presidential candidate. No right thinking, a lover of this party will say that the speech he made on that day was fair. No right thinking lover of this party. Forget about the run seekers. Forget about the scavengers. And I never reacted to it. I said, look, this party belongs to all of us. As far as I'm concerned, nobody. In fact, I had somebody told me that the national chairman said he spoke to me. With all due respect, he never called me. In fact, my audit came to me that, national chairman is on the phone. I said, how are you fine? Oh, this I said, okay, I'm traveling. When I come back. So, let everybody, since after 29th, 30th of May, not one person has come to talk to me. Forget about hiring journalists, press ninja like Ruben Abati, who was the former chief press secretary to the president. Sometimes when you read or hear what he says, you begin to wonder, where are we heading to? No more investigative journalism. Nothing like that happening. People just stay from one place, concoct stories, say all kinds of things they want to say. But like I said, I remain silent. But I can't continue to remain silent. Nigerians must know what happened. Nigerians must know who are those that love them. Nigerians must know, are we serious about leadership of this country? We must. So I would urge everybody to be patient, After the commissioning of projects we have lined up, then we'll be able to speak to Nigerians and tell them what happened. It doesn't matter who is involved. I'm not a slave, and I will not be a slave. I'm a free born of this country. I must be able to say how things are. Whether it suits you, it does not suit you, it's immaterial. So the members of the public should please bear with us that we must put the records straight. If we don't put the records straight, history will not be happy with you.
All right, so that was over the weekend, but yesterday the PDP, certain groups also held a meeting. Governor Isomike was there, Professor Jerry Garner was there, and several others. And Professor Jerry Garner did speak after that meeting because it was held behind closed doors. So lots of people were just wondering and waiting, trying to see what exactly transpired there. What was the crux of the meeting? And they thought it may not be unconnected with what is going on. But how is that playing itself out? Should we take it, or how should we even run with those kind of narratives? We've got two gentlemen who are joining us this morning to shed light on that has a backstory on what's going on within the People's Democratic Party. We've got Mr. Kasim Afegbua. He joins us from our studios in Abuja. He is a former spokesperson, PDP Presidential Campaign Council. And sitting beside him is, we also have Fabiyi, who is the Director, Special Support Group and Events Technical Committee, Atiku for President 2023. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well,
thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, so for onlookers, those who are on the outside, you know, like us just trying to understand what is going on. I know they say this is politics. They know how to go about all of this. But Mr. Afegbua, starting with you. So all of this going on, is it, at the end of the day, I mean, they say they have a way of sorting themselves out and that we shouldn't make a mountain out of a molehill. How do you see all of these events that are happening at the moment?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I'm sure you are aware that my position concerning PDP and the 2023 election has been very clear. I am completely against, the the happenings in the party with respect to having a northern candidate. That was why I took a decision, publicly to resign my membership of the party. I'm partyless as at now. I'm just watching the scenarios. But the more mistakes PDP make with respect to 2023, the better for the polity, the better for balancing the algorithms of power in the country between the North and the South. I have said it repeatedly that as much as people are devoting attention into Muslim ticket, what is crucial more, they should look into the idea of having a Nigerian president from the Fulani extraction going to hand over to another Fulani of the North if PDP has its way. That would be a counterproductive measure, counterproductive reality in a Nigeria that is defined along North and South dichotomies. So for me, PDP will continue to have problems because ab initio they have anchored their presidential candidate on a platter of injustice. They have jettisoned the provisions of their constitution, which supports zoning. They said there is no zoning. So what you are going to be seeing is going to be an interplay of those forces of injustices, which to me has assumed a satanic dimension. So I'm not enamored in any way. I'm not going to lose sleep over that. The more PDP has crisis, the better for the country, so that there could be president of southern extraction to balance the algorithms of power in this country. Otherwise, we'll be headed towards another direction that will not be healthy for the politics of this country.
Well, Mr. Dimeji, I mean, clearly, one man's meat is another's poison. And so for you, how would you interpret all of this?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain, and good morning, Nigerians. It is clear that PDP, as a party in Nigeria, has taken a decision. We went into an election, which is the primaries that produce the presidential candidate of the party. And then today, we have a candidate that is focused on what is next. Secondly, I want to make it abundantly clear this morning that there's no crisis in PDP. Of course, a lot of people, everybody will not agree with you. Even in our homes, there are decisions you take that a member of your family will say, no, I'm not with you on this. There's no crisis in PDP. In your opening remarks, Chamberlain, you said it's like making a mountain out of a mole. It's clear that as we speak today, PDP has moved past the issue of the primaries. We now have a candidate. We have a presidential candidate. We have a vice presidential candidate. And we're moving to the next level. For us in PDP, we understand the dynamics and the happenings in Nigeria. We've been in government. We've done what we could at that time. We make mistakes, and we're working hard to come back and get Nigeria working again.
That is it tantamount to making a mountain out of a molehill? Not that it was a categorical statement. But if you say there's no crisis within the PDP, so aren't there aggrieved persons? We just heard the Rivers State governor speaking, and then several other governors almost on the same page. So how do we describe what they've been saying? Isn't it some sort of displeasure on their part? And if that were the case, does it mean that doesn't matter? It cannot be considered as crisis?
Chamberlain, it happens in politics. You can't get this smooth. You can't get it perfect in politics. And some people will certainly be aggrieved. But what matters most is how the leadership of the party is able to manage it. I still maintain that there's no crisis in the party, because who wronged who? Who did what? Atiku Abubakar emerged as the candidate of our party, and he went on to pick the vice president. The process that is transparent, that everybody knows. There were committees, there were selection committee, and they came up with a recommendation, which they did. So as far as I know, the issue of whether it's going to the south or going to the north has been laid to rest, and we'll see. We're moving on to the election. As far as I know, PDP has moved past all of this, and what we're looking at is how to win elections, working out to make sure we win the election for Nigeria. PDP remains the best choice for Nigeria as we speak. And I don't understand the fact that the Atiku, the candidate of the party that has been chosen, understand this very much. You can't wish when it comes to I mean, criteria. You can't throw experience, we can't throw capacity away. So, and for me, we're clear about the vision, our vision, and we're clear about what we want to do, moving forward.
You may want to react to some of the things that you've heard Mr. Oladimeji speak about. But from your own perspective, Mr. Afegbua, how significant is the displeasure, if I can use the term, of some of those governors who have continued to make their opinion known? Governor Tom, for instance, is saying, look, when Governor Wike is perceived, he will be perceived. And a number of people are either overtly or covertly saying the same thing. How significant is that, given, as Mr. Oladimeji has said, that it's a party affair? Will always find a way to resolve the issues. It's not the first time, even when you were in the PDP, that there was such a rift and it was resolved.
Well, thank you very much. You see, the problem I have with scenarios and situations and systems in Nigeria, particularly in politics, it's always difficult for people to speak the truth. Instead of them to come out and accept responsibility for certain infractions, they will continue, to repeat the same thing. Oh, it's a party affair. We don't have problem. We don't have, well, even when it is obvious. I'm not surprised, because even the candidate of the PDP has told several lies on TV. He appeared on Arise Television and told several lies about, statistics and data. Wike accused him of telling lies. Tinubu campaign organization accused him of telling lies. It's obvious, they've analyzed and all of that. So I'm not surprised. But one thing is certain. You cannot build, justice on injustice. You see, it will come back to haunt you, no matter how clever you are, no matter how smart you are. People talk about experience and capacity. I'm yet to see that. If you say experience, you don't have executive experience. You've never presided over a local government chairman position. You've never presided over a governorship executive position. You're only a vice president. That's the truth. But the point I'm making is this. You see, it is dangerous for parties to often jettison the provisions of their constitution to please the whims and caprices of certain persons in the name of trying to, contest for election. And Iyorchia Ayu-led executive of the PDP is going to drive the party to the Golgotha, and I will be happy for that. You see, when I make my positions known oftentimes on issues like this, they normally poo-poo them. Oh, what is he talking about and all that? But it comes back to haunt them. I said this in Edo State during the election in 2020. Obaseki today has fashionalized PDP in Edo State. It's in two fashions. So the point is, when you don't drive your politics on the pathway of justice, fairness, and equity, you are going to be having interplay of forces that will continue to haunt the decision you have taken. You wanted to choose a vice presidential candidate, you didn't follow the process. You set up a panel, you follow a process of panel. The outcome recommended something else, you took another decision. If you know that you are comfortable working with Okowa, why did you, ab initio, accept a panel to be set up to look into the candidates? A man who came second in a convention, for example, has better political network across the country than the man who didn't contest at all. So I don't know how you reconcile that. Now, after the whole process, you want to go back and say, okay, the man has heard you spoke about the credentials you deploy in choosing Okowa. That means the man doesn't have the credentials. But yet, you want to go back to that same man to go and be pleading so that to resolve issues. For what? That is trying to be clever by half. So no matter how they go round, I want to see how they will sit down face to face with Governor Wike and be looking into his eyes and be telling him the kind of things that Wike will buy into. Wike is very smart, Wike is very bold, he's very courageous, he's got grit. So I know, I'm not his spokesman, I know certainly he's going to look them into the face and tell them. What Wike did yesterday was to hold a meeting with coordinators, those who supported his aspiration, to tell them, well, this is the situation we have found ourselves. It is not good for me to just leave you people like that without talking to you. So he spoke with them, he had a meeting with them, Joy Ghana and some other persons across the country, they were all there. And at the appropriate time, I said he would take a decision of what to do. So for me, the more they keep saying there's no problem, the better for me, so that the problem that I see, that I know, will continue to eat deep into the fabric of their campaigns.
Well, Mr. Oladimeji, it's quite interesting politics in Nigeria. I mean, Mr. Afegbua has been a major player in your party, but today he seems to be even looking forward to some sort of collapse within the party based on some of the trends he has seen. And he said that you cannot build justice on injustice. Particularly Governor Wike spoke about, what he perceived as lies told by your candidate. I'm not sure you have spoken to that, but in addition to what Mr. Afegbua has raised about building justice on injustice and the choice of running mate in the build-up to where your candidate is right now, you may think that it is water under the bridge. You have gone past that, but clearly he doesn't think so.
Let me tell you, I wonder what injustice we're talking about here in PDP. We had a primary election that followed all the known process of the law. Those who were supposed to monitor that election, the INEC, every organ of the party participated, and we had a presidential candidate. I am yet to understand where the injustice came from in this. Then secondly, what lies has Atiku told? Even Governor Wike that was talking, I think he should have gone further to tell me the exact lie Atiku said in the Rise television. Atiku only laid bare the facts of the matter. And what did he say? The question of his running mate came up and said, this is what I've done, I've taken a decision. Is that a lie? What other lies did he tell me? Did he say to Nigerians? So see, let us forget all this, this sentiment and all that. I want to tell anybody who cares to listen here that, number one, the party has not violated its own laws. The issue of zoning in the party still remains. The party said it still remains. Now, we've gone past that, like I said. I want to use this opportunity to correct certain misgivings that is being pushed out here by my brother. The party is clear on the zoning. And the party has taken a decision on who his presidential candidate should be and where he should come from. The issue of vice president, there were 3 committees, and Nigerians know what happened. The job of most of these committees were to recommend who should be vice president, and 3 names were recommended. I don't know why we have to be playing this kind of politics where we are in this Nigeria today. I'm happy my brother said he's not the spokesperson to the Governor Wike. The Governor Wike said he's going to speak. We are waiting for him to speak. Nigerians are waiting for him to speak and tell the Nigerians what Atiku has done wrong. Atiku has not violated any laws. He has not wronged anybody. We had a process that was free, that was fair, that was credible, and the candidate emerged. If it was the issue, if it was just simply the issue of I've not been reached out, I've not been called, the process, Atiku said, there's been process to do that. So let Governor Wike come out and say, these are the lies that Atiku told about me. So would anybody say it's a lie that Atiku said, yes, I have picked out of the 3 they gave me. All the committees that were set up make recommendation. And Atiku took that and acted on it in consonance, in collaboration with the party. Let me again clear this. Senator Ayu, as the national chairman of the PDP, is the best thing that has happened to this party. And I stand to be corrected, I stand to be challenged on that. We have seen how Ayu and his NWC has led the party. We had the free and fair primaries. A lot of reconciliation is going on in the state. So if anybody comes on national TV and said, hey, that is the no, we know the pedigree of Iyorchia Ayu. This is same Iyorchia Ayu was supported by this, all the governors, to emerge. They brought him. So if today, because things didn't go some people's way, I now say Dr. Iyorchia Ayu is going to run the party into that, I don't agree with that. As far as I know, the party is focused. The party knows where they are going. And Atiku is working hard to rescue Nigeria. And we're going to rescue this country, whether anybody likes it or not. All these things are bound to happen when you are going into election. During any election cycle, you have a lot of these things coming out. The meeting held by Governor Wike yesterday, I love it because it brought together some critical stakeholders of the party. And those people I saw there are not those who want the party to disintegrate. So if my brother is here and what he's looking for is to get PDP disintegrate, one can understand. So I will give it to him because he's no more a member of the PDP. He has been there before. So I want to tell Nigerians that just look out for Atiku Abubakar, look out for PDP. We are on it. It's a family affair, and we are going to settle it.
I mean, you're trying to respond to some of these issues, but initially you said there is no rift in the PDP. So I'm wondering how these issues... Just a second. Now, you said there is no rift, and you say there is reconciliation, and you say that, you know, there is a lot of you know, pockets of issues being resolved or being addressed here and there. I'm wondering where that is. And you say that, you know, there was no zoning issue in the PDP. Again, a number of people will be wondering, because there were hopes that since we have right now a northern candidate, the next one shouldn't automatically come to the south. And that was what is believed to be in the constitution of your party, unless that has changed or there is a different interpretation to that.
Maybe you didn't get me well. As a reconciliation in the states, we have states where we have pockets of issues. That's what I'm talking about. So what reconciliation are we even talking about at the national level? That's the question I ask. Then secondly, my comment on the zoning still remains the fact that PDP said it has not jettisoned its zoning. Let me tell you, PDP has its laws. When you look at the number of years that PDP was in government, out of these 16 years, all right, 14 has been to the south, from the south. Northern part of Nigeria only had 2 years. And this is very clear. And the question of the PDP is very clear. It does not mean that the PDP has jettisoned its zoning. Even the party said, we have not. So it's still there, it's very clear. So the last president that emerged from PDP was from the southern zone of Nigeria. If anybody is talking of injustice, it's injustice to the north. And that's what the PDP is trying to correct. PDP has its laws, has its constitution, APC has its laws and has its constitution. So an APC will not determine how PDP runs its affair, because we have our own laws that guide what we do.
Well, Mr.
So that is very clear. So the issue of zone, like I said, is nothing.
Right, I think the point has been made severally about this issue. I mean, people have said the PDP exists in the context of a wider Nigeria. So maybe you're trying to appease the North within the APC, within the PDP rather. But don't forget, that's actually the North of Nigeria. So questions about how you're trying to appease the North that has been in power for 8 years in your party in a larger context. It's just a mix of different things. But this conversation has gone on for too long. But there are a couple of other issues to raise, salient issues. And I'd like to go back to Mr. Afegbua, because he's talked about, you know, building justice on injustice, talked about how there was a committee that was raised and your candidate of the PDP jettisoned, you know, the outcome of that committee. But Mr. Afegbua, one of the candidates you have spoken for, in fact, you've touched on that today in this conversation. The candidate of the APC said personally that the choice of his running mate was his to make. And I find that quite interesting, because on the one hand, you think the PDP candidate should have gone with the recommendations of a committee, as you said. But for one of the candidates you support, he said it was his choice to make ultimately. And I wonder how, if that is fair to you, really, you know, essentially condemning the PDP's candidate for that choice. But for the candidate you at least have supported in times past and recent times, the APC candidate, you're not speaking to, you know, that issue, especially with the Muslim ticket. Don't forget, more people have left the APC as a result of that ticket than people have left the PDP as a result of the choice of the presidential candidate.
Let me quickly correct certain impressions before I come to your question. You see, it is easier and very convenient for people to think that there are no problems in PDP. If you say you have not jettisoned zoning, how come you didn't choose your vice presidential candidate from Northwest, since your candidate is from Northeast? Should have just chosen from Northwest, because you have jettisoned zoning. The point is, zoning as provided for in Article 7, subsection 3C of the PDP Constitution, recognizes rotation of power between the North and the South, whether you like it or not. In 2019, opportunity was given to all the Northern candidates. You know, no Southerner contested, and that is clear. And secondly, you know, they are also in the habit of telling lies. PDP has presided over this country 16 years. Out of the 16 years, 13 years from the South, 3 years from the North, not 14 and 2. That should be corrected. Thirdly, you see, because they're in the continent, he said, what lies did Atiku tell? So many lies. He said Abraham Lincoln contested 5 times to preside over America. There was nothing like that in the history of America. He contested in 1860 and 1864. Those are the two times. And he was killed in 1865. So he didn't contest 5 times. Of course, he ran other elections in 1832, 1834, 1843, and 1858 before he contested for president. But those elections are not presidential. Congress, Senate, and all of that. That's another. So when he says Egypt, he said Egypt is 80 million population and they have 2 million police. It is not true. Egypt is 104 million people, and the police they have in their employees in the region of 500,000. So you don't go out and tell me that a man has capacity and experience and he's churning out very wrong statistics to expose his deficiencies in these areas. That is that. You're talking about the choice of candidate. I was a member of the PDP up until I resigned about a month ago. And what I understand is the normative order in PDP was the fact that the zoning as provided for was being jettisoned. Secondly, Iyochayu worked for, partisanly for the candidature of Atiku Abubakar, which is also against the run of play of the party. As we speak now, Iyochayu is from the north, chairman board of trustees from the north, chairman candidate of the party is from the north. Whereas PDP is strongest in the south with 9 governors, against 5 governors in the north. So when you keep looking at all of these dynamics and you think they don't matter, well, they will play out later. That is that. Coming about the choice, if you know you were going to choose, it's your prerogative to choose a candidate that is going to be your running mate, given your own criteria, you have no business sending the party to go on a 17-man panel to think for you. It would have just been easier for you to wake up in the morning and you pronounce the name you wanted. Nobody will crucify you for that. But he did it in 2019 when he picked Obi unilaterally, and it backfired. And so this time, he wanted to be clever by half, set up a committee. He's still jettisoning the position of the committee. So the point is, I don't give a damn about what happens in APC. I'm not a member of APC. I'm only interested in southern candidacy. It can be Obi, it can be Tinubu. That's all I'm interested in, because the algorithms of power in this country must shift and must be balanced in such a way that after 8 years of a northern presidency, of a Fulani extraction, you have to come down south. It's a requirement and it's a normative order that cannot be jettisoned. And if you play around it, if you jettison it and you keep 16 years power in the north, because if Fabiyi wants to belong to power, he wants to be in government, you will be cultivating, crisis whose dimension will be unimaginable. You are still contending with banditry now and all of that. I'm sure you have seen some people down south parading with AK-47 with heavily armed personnel and all of that. That's just to tell you of things that will happen. I am not praying for crisis. I believe in this country. I'm an incurable optimist. But for God's sake, we must do the right things at every point in time and not try to sweep every injustice under the carpet and think that, oh, people will understand. People will understand. I am not one of those persons. I am a Nigerian. I have the cognitive experience to understand, to discriminate between realities and what I see. I can speak to the fact that PDP has been very unjust to the southern part of the country in this respect. Because in 2007, when Obasanjo was president, Dr. Peter Odili was almost coasting hope of victory to be the candidate, until he was cautioned that it has to be between north and south. That was why Umaru Yar'Adua came on stream. May God bless his soul. Nobody thought he was going to die. So he served 3 years. He died May 2010 before Goodluck Jonathan took over, and that has led us to where we are today. And at any rate, in the name of this zoning, Atiku Abubakar has gone to ACN, he has gone to APC, he was part and parcel of APC, was defeated in 2015 and all of that. He still came back to PDP again, all in the name of zoning, trying to make sure that he contests. And I'm saying that this level of desperation is satanic for the healthy politics that we are looking forward to. And when you tell them the truth, you are being marked for being a bad guy or whatever. So that's my position.
All right, Mr. Fabiyi, in addition to the response that you like to give about what Mr. Afegbua has said, I'd like you to also speak to what Governor Wike said, as sending people to him to come and placate him. So if there was no crisis, why would that happen? And then, Is the PDP going to go into this election with the party chairman from the north, the BOT chairman from the north, the presidential candidate from the north as well?
Well, Chamberlain, first, let me correct certain impression that my brother mentioned here. I think we would have been on this table discussing real issue, not pedestal issue. When you begin to whip up sentiment about details of statistics that someone said, and you term that to be a lie, honestly, I'm being taken aback. A few days ago, I read where some people were saying the Labour Party candidate gave some wrong statistics. It happens. So we don't need to be here and be talking about pedestal. These are childish things. That's not what we want to do at this level we are now. I think we have gone beyond this. Number two is the fact that speaking to your question about the issue of what Governor Wike said, even when I listen to Governor Wike, he hasn't said anything bad, apart from the fact that he called his elders liars. He called the leaders of the party, those who formed the party, scavengers and all whatnot. You know, one of the major things he said in his statement was, nobody has called me. It means that Governor Wike is expecting that the party or the candidate of the party, they need to sit down together and discuss the future of the party. Not in that light that my brother is trying to portray. Whether he likes it or not, I know him. He's been with the PDP. He's no more with the PDP now. You can understand his position, you know, coming here to say most of these things. But for me, I think Governor Wike is one man that has invested in this party, and the party has equally invested in him. And I don't think we want this party to collapse, as my brother is praying for the PDP to collapse. Governor Wike, you know, has benefited from the PDP, you know, and PDP has equally benefited from him. So you understand all this very well. And I don't think we wish the party that has invested in the party that has helped him to be where he is today, we want it to collapse. So having said that, the national leadership of the party and Atiku Abubakar as he is, this is the difference between Atiku Abubakar and someone like President Muhammadu Buhari, who does not believe in inclusion. Now we have 36 plus FCT, and everybody must be carried along, everybody must be part of it, and that is what Atiku is doing, and that's what he's going to do. He does not believe in excluding anything. If he has said, I'm sending somebody to Governor Wike, they contested this election together. And Atiku himself realizes the stature, the capacity of Wike. And he said it in that statement. Why is my brother not talking about that? Where Atiku said, Governor Wike is an asset to this party, an asset to this country. Why is he latching on Atiku did not say what Atiku did say that what did not say? I don't know. All these things, as far as I know, they are too childish, they are too pedestrian. There are serious issues that we need to talk about. He mentioned the issue of banditry, he mentioned insecurity. These are things that Atiku is coming. You don't forget, Atiku has at one time in this country secured our borders. And can anybody tell me you cannot secure this country? So as a custom officer, fantastic track record.
You've not spoken to one of them.
Vice president.
You haven't spoken to one.
And you are now saying that he does not have experience, does not have any executive experience.
Could you speak to the leadership of the party, the structure of the party? Is there going to be a national convention? Will the national chairman resign such that other sections of the country...
Of course. Let me tell you, Chima, this is how it works. Chima, this is how it works, all right? We usually have what we call midterm convention. As we move forward, there's going to be, and Atiku made it very clear, that the leadership of the party in the North has even sat down and said, see, the moment I emerge, you know, as the president-elect of this country, as the president, the national chairman automatically moves to the other zone of the country. What else does anybody want instead? I mean, this thing is very clear. He made it abundantly clear. So we'll get to a point that the moment he emerges as the president by the grace of God, the national chairman of the party and other positions in the party will automatically change. There's no crisis about this. There's no problem about this. We'll go into this election. PDP will go into this election with an Atiku as the president candidate of the party, with Okowa as the vice president, and we'll win. And let me speak to what he said. I'm continuing to say this, that the process that produced the vice president candidate of our party was clear.
Well,
And there was no
just 1 second. Just one second, Mr. Oladimeji. There's a need to quickly understand something that you just said now. I mean, the question Chamberlain asked is very clear. In the build-up to the election, you're saying that the presidential candidates, the national chairman of the party, and the chairman of the board of the party will remain as they are, all Northerners.
Yes, we've had this, we have had it before. It's not new in the PDP. There was a time we have a president and we have the national chairman of the party from the same place. And it got to a point that has to change. It's a process. What we need, what we had at our hand right now is to face this election and win this election. And I don't see this affecting anything, causing any ripple or any setback for the party.
All right, well, just a second, Mr. Fabiyi. Let me ask Mr. Afegbua what he thinks of that. Is that an issue for you? And I don't know if there are other issues in the party that you want to point out that might give people a better understanding of what is going on, especially the members of the party.
Thank you very much. I think, you see, I will keep on dwelling on the fact that when people are not used to telling the truth, when subterfuge is the name of the game, manipulation and gerrymandering, then you continue to get the kind of results and positions where people will be shying away from speaking the truth to power. The point is, Iyochayo on his own promised to step down if a candidate comes from the part of the country where he comes from. He hasn't done that. He should be honorable enough to do that. He said he's a man of pedigree who is standing trial with EFCC. Oh, well, that is the pedigree they are talking about. He spoke about Atiku being a first-class custom officer who and this. Of course, he has forgotten that some of us have statistics and information about him. He shouldn't. You don't come here. Atiku was a custom officer. He was still trading and doing business against civil service rules and all of that.
He challenged you on the rise. Bring it up.
So please, allow me to talk, please. If you don't want me to talk, I'll leave the stage for you. I didn't interrupt you when you were marketing your bad product. I didn't interrupt you.
Bring it up.
The point is, people should learn to speak truth to power. As it is now, the PDP is skewed in favor of the North. Whether he likes it or not, that is the position. Chairman, Board of Trustees, North. Candidate, North. The Chairman of Party, North. And against the zoning principles of the party, as enshrined in its constitution, body of laws that should define and dictate the operation of the party, was jettisoned because of certain ulterior interests. Now they've achieved their aim, and they still want us to swallow the fledgling of their dishonesty and their manipulation. No problem about that, but people will speak at the polls. So my point is, it is injurious to the health of Nigerian politics for you to have a northern candidate that will be spending 8 years by May 29, 2023 to be succeeded by another if their wishes were to become horses. So I am of the opinion that whether we like it or not, it is the turn of the South and the South for 2023. Whoever the South decides to put forward, I'm expecting that the northern aspect will also support them. And that is why I commend, and I will continue to commend the northern governors of APC. 14 of them, maybe 15 of them, they rose from a meeting and told the party structure and the president that no, it should be the turn of the South. Let us see the position so that we don't deepen the mistrust that has been existing between the North and the South. If we decide to choose another candidate from the North. Don't forget that the party chairman of APC was almost making the pronouncement that Lawan Ahmed, Senate president, was the consensus candidate and all of that. But all of that was put to rest by those heroes. For me, I call them heroes of our present democratic dispensation, those northern governors. They spoke my mind. They spoke the minds of millions of Nigerians. Because you continue to think that because of what you are going to gain personally as a friend of Atiku, you are going to, oh, it is better for him to be president so that you too. See, I'm not going to be detained by those kind of pecuniary interests. Those who know me know that I want to do things in line with what I feel is driven by my conviction. I feel pleases my conscience and the conscience of majority of people. So if you think that it is not an issue for you, no problem. But I'm sure inside PDP, I can tell you categorically there will be sabotage. And I'm praying for that sabotage to happen so that Atiku will not smell as a rock.
All right, gentlemen, we need to go. But Mr. Fabiyi, just briefly, we need to wrap up in a few seconds, if you don't mind. Okay. All right, Mr. Fabiyi, do you want to just very quickly, because we need to wrap up?
Yes. Like I said, I understand my brother's position, and Nigerians understand his position too. It was against the party in his own state. The party still won. Now, what will happen at the national level?
All right.
And is this all these things that will now determine what happens in Nigeria? No, it's not. Nigerians will speak. All right. At the polls.
So with the
polls. They know what they want. They're tired of government of APC. They needed a change. They needed somebody who people can, and they see that in Atiku.
All right, we need to wrap up
PDP
then.
That has learned his lesson.
We want to thank you both. All right, Mr. Fabiyi Oladimeji, Director Support Group and Event Technical Committee Atiku for President 2023, as well as Kasim Afegbua, who is a former spokesperson of PDP Presidential Campaign Council. He's partyless, as he says. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on today. All right, we will be back in a moment. Stay with us.